So I'm resigned to being okay with once a month on these videos. Hopefully I can keep that up. Today actually is a monthly transgender FTM meeting. I've been going to it for, I thought not that long, but apparently it's been about 3 or 4 years now. And this month the guy that normally facilitates it is out of the country. He's in Australia. So I'm supposed to be facilitating. I'm a little bit nervous about that. But I think I'll do okay. I hope I'll do okay. It's not a super formal meeting. Apparently we're unusual in that it is strictly trans men. Most of the transgender meeting groups that you find around are just all trans people and non-binary, and which is fine. That's actually probably really good to have people interacting and seeing the different sides of the experience. But it's also nice to have a group that's just trans men, because of course there are specific issues to being one versus being another. So yeah, that is tonight. Wish me luck. If anybody is in the Richmond, Virginia area, it is Transformers is the group. It meets at the Health Brigade, which is formerly the Fan Free Clinic. And if you look that up online, you can probably find out more about it, or feel free to message me on this video. Yeah, just in case anybody from RVA is watching these. The topic that I'm going to be having tonight at the meeting is about the pros and cons of presenting as masculine and being in a masculine space. There are a lot of differences between masculine spaces and feminine spaces. It is mostly a cultural, social construct. It's not inherent to your actual physical gender. But we obviously in our culture have a difference between things we consider masculine and things we consider feminine, be it hobbies, topics of conversation, the ways that we converse. There's a lot of gender differences, and a lot of ideas about how men and women should speak to each other, how they should relate to their own gender, how they should relate to people of the other gender. I'm not saying all of these are right. I'm saying they exist. And when, especially if you're somebody like me who's a late bloomer, I've lived the first 35 years of my life being expected to communicate as a woman, being expected to be in women's spaces. I've always been very awkward in women's spaces. I've never been good at being a woman. But there are certain expectations that I couldn't fulfill. But I tried. Now I'm being taken as cis male most of the time, more often than not, which is amazing. It's only been a year and a half, a year and 2/3. October will be my 2-year anniversary. So that's amazing that I'm being taken as masculine by straight, cis guys. But it does also come with some expectations that I also am not quite able to live up to. It's interesting because there is an expectation for trans men to be more manly than cis men to prove themselves, and the same thing for trans women. They're expected to be more feminine to prove themselves. Oh, are you really a woman? Or are you just faking it? It's an unfortunate thing that happens. I haven't really encountered that yet, but sports is one area that I feel that I very much fall down on. My father is a cis man. He's not a man's man. He was a librarian, which is kind of a gender-neutral job, if you ask me. he did a lot of carpentry, or does a lot of carpentry and woodworking. He's built a lot of cabinetry. He did all kinds of home repair when I was growing up and did it right, did it very well. So that's a very masculine thing. But one of the biggest masculine hobbies, topics of conversation, expectations that I find is sports. My father didn't watch sports. I did not grow up with any interest in sports in the house. I did not see that modeled. And, you know, as I got older, I was trying to be kind of macho, even though I didn't know I was a trans guy at the time. But when I was in my teenage years, I tried to get interested in baseball, and my father took me to a couple of baseball games. He took me to the Bellingham Mariners, which is awesome. It was a fun time. I won't swear to it that I knew 100% what was going on. I couldn't tell you the names of any of the players. It never really clicked. And maybe that's partly because my dad didn't watch sports either. So it's like I don't know the terminology. I know some of the most popular teams because you have to be deaf and blind. Because you see people with sports jerseys and stuff out there. But I don't know who's who. And that's been okay. But now that I am presenting as masculine, I get into casual conversations with men who are strangers, and there's an expectation. So I get these guys, you know, did you watch the game last night? And I'm like, sure, they sure were sporting hard. Go sports. I don't even know what game I'm supposed to have watched. A lot of times they ask that without any preface to what sport, because sports are apparently seasonal. I don't know when one begins and another one ends. So, yeah, that can be awkward. But obviously, like I said, there are cis guys who don't do sports. Fortunately, I have several cis guy friends who are not into sports, so you know it's good to know that that's okay. But yeah, I'm not sure how to deal with that expectation on a broader front with strangers. But it goes further than that kind of thing. There was an incident a number of weeks ago now where I and my wife and our friend went to a sandwich shop, and there was a guy there behind the counter. I will admit he creeped me out a tiny bit because he actually reminded me a little bit of a creepy ex I had who became a stalker, but that's a story for another time. But my wife paid. My wife and I take turns paying for things. You know, okay, who's got more money this week? We don't have a joint account, but we treat our money like it's joint money by and large. We don't keep track of who paid what bill, you know, as far as like, you know, okay, you owe me for that or you owe me for this. It all evens out. So we don't worry about it, and we never have. But she paid, and I'm clearly with her, and I'm a dude, and this guy got all worked up about it. And he wasn't like aggressive or anything, but I think he was just making conversation. But he kept harping on, oh, you should pay for her because she's the girl, and you know, that's, you know, you gotta be a stand-up guy and do this and do that, and that's how a man treats his woman. Stop pushing your heteronormative outdated traditions on us. But I was real awkward with how to approach that. I was like, we're married, she married me, I must be doing okay. It was very awkward. He's a big dude, so that there was a level of intimidation with that too. When I encounter guys who are big guys and have the deep voice, I feel intimidated, and it's a different way than being intimidated as a woman, I don't feel intimidated, threatened, like they're going to do anything. I feel intimidated on the level of they are more man than me. I realize that's probably ridiculous, but that's what happens in my head. This is a thing. So he was a bigger dude, probably a little younger than me, but so that also added to my awkwardness with the situation and with not knowing how to respond. Plus, it kind of caught me off guard because we don't think about that. We are not here for your heteronormative, archaic bullshit. So, yeah, that's lingered in my brain, and that guy is still there, and we have been to the sandwich shop since, and he said something else the last time I was there, and I just kind of tried to ignore it. But it was weird. That's what it comes down to. It was weird and it was awkward. And I realized that I'm in for more of that. But hey, trying to pretend to be a woman was weird and awkward too. It's just a very different kind of weird and awkward. So yeah. On that front, things are obviously going well physically as far as changes. I think maybe my voice has kind of leveled out. I'm trying to get my upper range back a little bit because it's still a little bit squeaky. But yeah, on the other hand, a lot of times I'll say things or I'll sing along with something on the radio, and I'll just kind of go with whatever pitch feels natural, which ends up being half an octave to an octave lower than they're singing on the radio. But I'll suddenly hear what's coming out of my mouth. I'm like, oh my God, is that my voice? Wow. It didn't used to sound like that. So that's a good thing. I'm happy with that. I'm okay if it stays about where it is. I would be okay if I would like to get a little more of a deeper end for singing. My speaking voice is fine where it is, but I want to see if I can kind of push that, but I also need to work on keeping my upper range because I don't want to lose that. It's very awkward that a lot of the guys that are rock and roll singers are tenors, and I can't hit that anymore. And sometimes it was a struggle even before, so that's not necessarily a new problem, but it is a problem that has become exaggerated. So I've got some working to do, some vocal practice. Physically, I haven't noticed anything drastic, but there does seem to be a slow, gradual progression happening of continuing body fat shifting, and muscular stuff. I have not been working out, but it's hard. But that's interesting to me that I'm not working out and I'm still seeing changes. I actually had to get rid of a shirt the other day. It's a year old. It's this kind of style, and I put it on and the sleeves are too tight. So that's new. The rest isn't too tight, just the sleeves. I think it might have been a woman's shirt, but who could tell? It looked like this style. So yeah, that's new. But yeah, so there's still some gradual shifting going on. I don't know how much farther I have to go on that. My dysphoria about my chest has been getting progressively worse. So we're trying to look into how the hell to have top surgery happen. Financially, that's the big issue, is financially how to make that work. Taking time off work is not going to be fun either, because I work at a very small place and there's not a lot of leeway for time off. But we'll figure it out. I did not expect that to worsen so drastically, but I think the problem is now that I look masculine for all intents and purposes to most people, their giveaway, it feels like they are more discordant with the rest of my appearance now than they used to be. So I think that's where that's coming from. I do find myself slouching a lot, standing in ways to hide. I try to bind as little as I can get away with. I use sports bras, so it's compressive, but it's not as compressive as a binder. I have enough, issues with heart and breathing and stuff without that, especially with the allergies. So I would prefer not to restrict my chest any more than I have to. So I don't bind very often. But the flip side of that is then I've got a chest. I've got more chest than a cis guy normally would. So yeah, I will update with however that's going to work whenever that comes about. The acne has been a little bit worse recently, but I, for a month or two there, got really crappy about keeping on schedule with dosing. So that's something for people who are on hormones to watch out for. It really does seem like there's a strong correlation between when I have an acne breakout, when I'm not consistent with getting it on the day. I'll slide a day, I'll slide 2 days, and suddenly I'm breaking out. So my body is looking for that consistent dose. But I see the endo again in June, so he'll check my levels. So far they've been pretty good, the past few times, and considering how the changes are happening, I'm probably about where I'm supposed to be if I can just be more consistent about the dosage. I think that's all I've got topic-wise to talk about. I will try and do these once a month because that seems more realistically doable. So don't expect anything else until June. Maybe I'll do it after my endo meeting, just so I have something to talk about there as far as progress. And with that, I do have a short song. Forgive me, it's goofy. It just came to mind, and I liked it, and yeah. Younger people probably won't recognize it. Older people might. I do not know the original artist who wrote and recorded it. Just kind of doing this on the fly. So, until next month, yeah. Look at what's happened to me. I can't believe it myself. Suddenly I'm up on top of the world. Should have been somebody else. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. Never thought I could feel so free. Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be? Believe it or not, it's just me. Till next time.